Good evening, everyone. We are live. You are welcome to another episode of Defi Monday, proudly brought to you by Binance Africa. We are going to be discussing what is happening in the DeFi space, and it promises to be an interesting and educational conversation. All right. So, my name is Kenny Lawal. I'm your host, and my co-host is Kazim Saidu. I'm very glad to be here today, and if you are also glad, kindly put in the comment section your name and where you are joining us from. And please share this link with as many persons as possible so that they can benefit from the various insights and educational tips that we're going to be giving today. All right. To begin with, I'll run a short disclaimer. Nothing that we're going to be sharing should be considered financial advice. It's only for educational and informational purposes. You still need to do your own research so before making any investment decisions. In addition, if you are yet to open a Binance account, kindly do that using the link that is attached to this live stream. And also, if you participate in today's conversation by asking questions, you stand a chance to win 100 BUSD courtesy of Binance. Okay, so I'm going to start, and my co-host will follow. Right. So this is the training overview of my discussion today. I'll be covering traditional lending and crypto lending. All right. I will look at the general use case. I will look at centralized crypto loans and decentralized crypto loans. Okay. So, but before I go ahead, um, I need to be sure that you have shared this live stream. So please, to our listeners, to those watching this live stream, please type yes if you have shared this broadcast link, this live stream link with your friends so that they can benefit from what we are going to be sharing today. Please type yes if you have shared it. I'm looking at the comment section now. Um, please type yes if you have shared this link with some of your friends. Also, please let me know your name and where you are joining us from. So Alpha Domi said he has shared it. Okay, thank you, Alpha Domi. Luis Chigoze said, nice to be here again this week. Yeah, all of you are welcome, and I'm very glad that you are joining us again. But please and please share this link with others so that they can also benefit. All right. So, since I've gotten a yes, I will now go ahead to my session. I'm covering traditional and crypto lending. Okay. So, traditional and crypto lending, they are almost similar at their core. At the basic, at their fundamentals, they are almost similar. Somebody needs cash more than they have at hand, and there's somebody that has this cash that is willing to lend them at an interest. So that's what lending is, whether in the traditional sense or bringing it to cryptocurrency space. All right, but there are little discrepancies, little differences there, right? Traditional lending, for example, it makes use of banks, right? Banks is the middleman here, right? So banks lend out money to a customer and it charges an interest rate, right? And besides, banks are using the money that depositors bring, all right? So bank charges an higher interest rate more than what they give their depositors, okay? But crypto lending on the other side uses what we call a CeFi exchange. That's a centralized finance exchange, which is an exchange like Binance, or a decentralized exchange. That's a DeFi exchange like Aave or Compound, right? So traditional lending, one other differences is that traditional lending may or may not require much collateral. As a matter of fact, I've tried borrowing a loan from a bank, and the first question they asked me is, do I have a salary account? And immediately I told them I don't have, they didn't go ahead with the process. So if you have a salary account, that can stand as a collateral for traditional lending, right? But that won't work in the cryptocurrency space. In crypto lending, you require much collateral. In fact, it needs to be over collateralized. And what I mean by over collateralized is that if you have a particular crypto, let's say you have uh, Bitcoin, right? And you want to drop it as collateral to borrow a stable coin like USDT or BUSD, the maximum amount that you can borrow on that Bitcoin is 70%, right? So you can only borrow 70% of what you are bringing down. So you are over collateralizing the loan. So that means you are dropping more than you are borrowing. And I'm sure you're asking, why do people now borrow when you are over collateralized? So I'm going to go. I'll be sharing with you very soon. I promise to share the use cases very soon. All right. So let's look at the goal. The goal here is just to earn interest on your crypto. If you are doing crypto lending, the goal is to earn interest on your crypto. If you are doing traditional lending, the goal is to earn interest on your money, right? But when it comes to crypto lending, you are getting a better interest rate. Right now in Nigeria, for those that are using savings, I don't know the exact interest rate, but abroad, we have had instances of zero interest rate. Okay. But when it comes to crypto, you're going to get a better interest rate. You can't get zero interest rate if you are going to be using allowing your money for lending, right? Another thing about crypto lending is that it's much simpler, right? Is permissionless, and there is no reason required. They're not going to ask you for reasons. If you want to borrow money from your bank, they will ask you for the reason. Why are you borrowing this money, right? But when it comes to crypto, nobody is going to ask you for reasons. Another thing is, if you're going to borrow money from bank, they will ask you for your credit worthiness. Okay, have you borrowed a loan before? Were you able to pay back? Right? When was the last time you borrowed a loan? But when it comes to crypto lending, they are not going to ask for your credit worthiness, right? So this makes it more simpler and easier. All right. So let's look at the general use cases of crypto loans. One thing is that different people use it for different purposes, and every single day we are getting to see more use cases of crypto and more use cases of crypto lending or crypto loans, right? But here I have four good use cases of crypto loan. And the number one use case is to earn interest on your crypto. That is, you want to make your money work for you. You want to make your crypto work for you. And that's if you are a lender. A lender is someone that borrows someone money. So if you're a lender, you don't just want to leave your cryptocurrency dormant in your wallet. You are bringing it to a Sapphire exchange or a Defi exchange, and you are lending it out so that you can earn some interest. That is, make your money work for you. And interestingly, I've seen of recent, I was going over Twitter and I saw someone said he earns 200, he earns 20% APY on a 1 million naira, $1 million loan, right? So he lent his $1 million out, right? And he was able to earn $200,000 every year on a 20% APY. If I had to look at that, how many people earn $200,000 every year? Very little. Just imagine somebody like that is not working, he's not stressing himself. He has $1 million, whether on Binance or in DeFi exchange, and he's earning 20% APY. That's quite interesting, right? So to earn interest, and if you have a huge capital, that interest can even cover all your living expenses. Okay. The second point is that crypto, you can use crypto as collateral for a crypto loan. That's another use case of what crypto loans, right? So some people have their crypto, right, and they need money. So instead of them selling their crypto, if they sell their crypto, I'm sure you know they now have a tax obligation. A tax obligation is that now they need to pay 20% capital gain tax, depending on your jurisdiction. They need to pay 20% capital gain tax on that money. But instead of them having a tax obligation, they would rather not what? Sell that crypto. So what they do is they are going to take a loan on that crypto. They are going to take a loan on that crypto. And when you are borrowing a loan, we all know that you can't pay tax on loan, right? Imagine you borrow a loan from a bank and they're asking you to pay tax. Nobody's going to do that when you have not even used it for what you want to use it for, right? So now they are going to borrow a loan on their crypto, right? And when they do that, they now have cash which they're not going to pay tax on. But by doing that, they are not selling their crypto. That means that their crypto can also increase in price. That means that their crypto can also increase in price. That means they are not giving up a future price increase, right? And they are not also paying tax. But one thing is, let's say the price of that their crypto that they let's say they borrow, um for example, let's say they borrow an amount and they use an amount as collateral. If the price of that their collateral keep falling and it almost gets to the amount that they borrowed, they're going to be liquidated, right? So one thing that some people do is they will still hold the amount that they borrowed. They usually do it at the peak of the bull market. So they will still hold the amount that they borrow. And even even they won't pay back their loan and ensure that their loan get liquidated and price keep falling. And they will now go and buy crypto back at the bottom. So by using this, they're not paying any tax, right? So another use case of crypto loans is for margin and leverage trading. For those of you that trade margin or trade futures, you are also using crypto loans, although I don't really recommend it, especially for newbie traders out there. If you are not yet profitable in the spot market, then using lending money to trade will make you profitable, right? So there are some other things to that, but I'm not today is not about margin or leverage trading, right? So that will be for another day. Okay. So another use case on crypto loans. Anyway, let me explain margin briefly, right? So in margin and leverage trading, you are borrowing more than your initial capital, right? You can borrow if it's a 5x leverage, you can borrow 5 times your initial capital. If it's a 10x leverage, you can borrow 10 times your initial capital, right? But as I've said, the higher the profit you can make, the higher the risk and the higher probability of losing your money, right? So if you're a newbie, forget about leverage trading for now. Let's go to flash loans. Flash loans is the fourth use case of crypto loans. So flash loan, what does it do? It allows you to borrow massive money, massive liquidity without putting up any collateral. Imagine you can borrow money without any collateral. That's like the most interesting thing to me in this world. Imagine I can borrow huge amount of money, right? But it's only possible if you're also going to be paying back in a single block or in a single transaction. So that means as I executing that transaction to borrow, before that transaction is going to be completed, you're also going to be paying back, right? So where do they use flash loans? They use flash loans to take advantage of arbitrage opportunities. They use flash loans to take advantage of arbitrage opportunities. I'm sure we all know what arbitrage is. You are making good use of differences in price of a crypto from a particular market and another market, right? Another use case of arbitrage is you are making good use of differences in interest from one market or one exchange to another market or exchange, right? So, but one thing you need to know about flash loan is that it's quite technical. You need to have the technical knowledge. You even need to know about programming. So, I don't think most people are going to be using flash loans. Although I've seen people that are literally gotten rich from flash loans. Yeah, and I hope one day I'll be able to make use of flash loans because there's nothing like borrowing money without collateral. I think the people that can do it are the big business moguls, monopolies, maybe people like Dangote. They can borrow them because they are well established without collateral. Okay, so let's look at I told you we have two types of crypto loans. We have the one you do on centralized exchange and the one you do on decentralized exchange. So let's cover the ones you do on a centralized crypto exchange. Okay, so centralized crypto loans occurs on centralized exchanges like Binance or Coinbase, right? And one thing that is important here is that you're going to need a KYC. That's know your customer, right? So that means if you're not a fan of doing know your customer, then you might not go for centralized crypto loans and you might go for decentralized, which I'm going to cover very soon. All right. So one thing about the centralized crypto loan is you can get interest rate typically ranging from 1 to 20% APY or APR, right? There's a difference between APY and APR, and I'm going to cover the differences now. Okay. So when you see APY, okay, let me start with APR. APR stand for annual percentage return. So this is like the amount. When you see 20%, that means if you leave that money for a year, let's say you leave 1 million naira for a year, right? If you leave it for a year and it's APR and it's 20% APR, that means you're going to get 20% return on that 1 million naira, which is 200,000, right? But annual percentage yield, on the other hand, means that that money that that return that you're going to get is going to be compounded, right? So let me say, as you're leaving your money and you're getting interest on it, they're adding that interest to it. So even that your interest within that 1 year, even that your interest will be earning interest as well because they are being compounded. So let me say you're starting with 1 million naira in the first month. In the next month, you have 1 million naira, 500, 1 million naira, 5,000 naira. You have 1 million and 5,000 naira. The 5,000 naira is the interest. So the 1 million and 5,000 naira will be the next principal because it has been compounded, right? So that means you earn interest on the 1 million and even interest on the 5,000 naira interest. So that's for APY, right? But some people when they see they think okay, maybe they are subscribing for 7 days or 30 days. They will think they will get 20% in 30 days. No, everything you see there is for a year. But the difference between APY and APR is that in APR is like simple interest, not being compounded. But in APY is being compounded, and your interest will even start earning interest. Please put in the comment section if you are following. Please put in the comment section if you understand what I just explained and you are following. All right. So having said that, in centralized crypto loans, your interests accrue on an hourly basis, right? So if you borrow from Binance.com, for example, every hour you're going to be having your interest is going to be accruing, and you'll be seeing it how much you now pay, right? So one thing about centralized crypto loans or crypto loans in general is that what they are automated. If you go to the bank that you want to borrow loan, it's not automated. They'll start asking you questions. But when it comes to cryptocurrency, the lending process, the borrowing and lending process is automated. The lender puts its asset on the exchange, and the borrower puts his asset. The borrower borrows on the exchange as well. Automated. Even the collateral of the borrower automated, right? But one thing is that some centralized exchange, they don't allow you to take your borrowed capital out of the platform. So for example, if you borrow on Binance, depending on how you borrow, if you borrow to do margin and leverage trading, you can't take your money out. You can only take it out after paying your interest and before you cash out your collateral and profit, right? So you must pay your interest first before you can have access to your profit and even your collateral. I'm sure you guys are following. I'm sure you guys are following. So Samuel Alagbe said he's following ardently. I'm so glad you are following, Samuel. All right. So let's look at. So one thing is that Binance, for example, offer bonuses, right? And you can even get zero interest voucher. I can remember vividly I got $200 and $500 zero interest voucher sometimes last year. That means I can borrow money and not pay. It was for a period of 7 days. So I'm not going to pay any interest if I borrow $200 or $500 for a period of 7 days, which is quite interesting, right? So you can use it for margin and leverage trading. So let's cover decentralized crypto loans. Decentralized crypto loans, right? And this is what partakes to our topic today, which is DeFi, you know, uh, Monday DeFi, right? DeFi Monday. Okay. So now, decentralized crypto loans, you can take it on DeFi protocols like Aave and Compound. They work the same way as decentralized crypto loans, right? But the difference is here you don't need a KYC. You don't need to know your customer. And it's also automated. It's permissionless, right? And you can also get the same interest rate, right? You can get from 1 to 20% APY or APR. And another interesting thing about the DeFi the one of DeFi protocols is sometimes you see insane APY. There was a time I saw about 300% APY, and I was like, "How are you going to get 300% on your capital in a year?" But one thing I realized is that if it sounds so good to be true, it's most likely not true. It's most likely a scam, right? One thing you need to know here, or one thing that most newbies don't know, is that if you are going to get 300% on your capital, let me say you are going to buy their coin, you are going to stake it or lend it out, and you get 300%. Mind you, mind you, it's possible that even that coin is going to fall by 90%. So at the end of the day, you're not making any profit. So imagine you bought a coin at $100, right? And you lent it out for 300% APY. At the end of the day, by the time you're getting your APY, the coin has already fallen to $5, from $100 to $5. You see that you didn't even make any profit. So you need to be careful, right? So as usual, the borrowing and lending process is automated. Also, it must be over collateralized. If you have Bitcoin and you want to borrow stablecoin on a DeFi protocol like Aave or Compound, you can only borrow 70% of the value of the collateral. You can't borrow more than that, right? And one thing about decentralized crypto loans is that you might need a stable coin. Even crypto loans in general, you might need a stable coin. You have crypto, you might also need a stable coin, right? So let's look at the benefit of the DeFi crypto loans, right? They are permissionless. You don't need to ask for permission. Once you have your crypto, you can borrow, right? If you go to bank and the banker do not like it, they won't borrow you the money. Another thing is that immutability. Because DeFi is using blockchain technology for their crypto loans, or crypto is using blockchain technology, you can see everything that you're going to be doing. It's transparent, so you can see all the lending and everything, and you can't change it, right? It's immutable, right? And another thing about DeFi crypto loans is self custody. So you don't need to bring your crypto to a centralized exchange like Binance or Coinbase, right? So from your self-hosted wallet, where you have your crypto, you can borrow money, right? So lastly, we have interoperability. So one interesting thing about DeFi crypto loans, which makes it even more interesting than centralized exchange crypto loans, is that interoperability, which we have been saying all these days. That is the ability to combine a level of DeFi stacks together. You can borrow money on Compound, go and use it on Aave, go to Polygon, still go and use it. It's interesting. It's mind-boggling as well, and it depends on how smart you are. If you're a very smart person, you can work out things. But even at that, please be careful and ensure that you don't put all your money into this, because there is software risk, right? And there's also risk of you losing all your money, even risk of your asset devaluing, right? So having said that, let's go to the practical session. So the first practical here is borrowing on Binance, right? Binance is the largest cryptocurrency exchange in the world in terms of volume. That's the amount of crypto asset that is being traded. Also in terms of the number of users, and also in terms of features for both newbie and professional traders. right? So if you go on Binance, you log into your Binance account. If you go to the end tab at the top menu of your Binance account, you see N. If you go to the end tab, you can choose any of these lending products, right? And you can see it here. It's called staking. Some of them are called staking. So we have log staking and flexible saving. Log staking means, for example, this one has 120 days. You won't have access to your money until after 120 days, right? And we also have flexible savings. That is, this one is flexible, right? And you are not going to have you okay for the one of flexible. You can have access to it anytime. Yeah, it's flexible. So you can stake or subscribe for any of these packages and you start earning. That's if you are the lender. And if you are also the borrower, there's a tab where you can also borrow, right? But depending on what you are going for, you might not be able to withdraw those capital from your Binance account if you are borrowing. Okay. So for example now, let's say I'm lending USDT for example. All right. So they have their quota. The maximum is 200,000 USDT, right? For flexible, and the interest is 10%, 10% APR. Okay, this is APR. Now you are seeing this is APR. So it's not going to be compounded. So this APR, 10% for a year. So if you put $100 for example, you are going to get $10 after a year. But if you are not living it for a year, then you need to divide it. So what I do is the interest for a year, I'll divide it by 365 days to know the interest for a day. Then I will now multiply it by the number of days that I'm going to be living it, and also multiply by my capital, right? So yeah, you choose. But what I realize is that if you have huge amounts, the APY is usually very low. It's very low. But I pray that we'll be able to have large USDT amount so that imagine depositing one million USDT and earning huge amount on it. Okay. So having said that, let's look at practical two, which is using a platform called Aave. Okay. So for practical two, which is Aave, for those who don't know, Aave has over $12 billion of liquidity at the moment across 7 blockchains and 13 markets. Okay. And to access Aave, you need to go to app.aave.com. Can you all see the link? If you go to app.aave.com, you connect your wallet. So this is the platform, app.aave.com. App app.aave.com, right? So once you get there, you connect your wallet at the top right. My co-host Kazim Saidu showed us how to create a MetaMask wallet, right? So now you should know how to create a wallet, and you should know how to change it to different blockchain network, and you should also know how to fund those network from Binance.com, right? So having said that, once you connect your wallet, you can now choose different markets. Here I chose the Ethereum market. You can choose Avalanche market, you can choose Polygon market, right? So for this particular wallet that I have here, I have very little money here. As you can see, just very little money. This is the money I have in this wallet, right? So this is my asset. Asset is what you have in the wallet. So once you have asset, you can now what? Borrow on that asset, right? So for Aave, for example, you can borrow 65% of the worth of your asset, and you can borrow stable coins. As you can see here on Aave, you borrow stable coins, and these are their interest rates here. So I wrote something here. I said check the variable and stable APY for short-term and long-term loans respectively, right? So we have two APY here. We have variable and stable, right? If you are going to be doing short-term loans, that is the one that you can withdraw anytime, you can pay back and withdraw anytime. The APY is very low, 1.73%, which is good. But if you are going to be doing a long-term loan, which is a stable annual percentage yield, then the APY might be a bit high. All right. So having said that, you can if you have a lot of assets here, right? You can now decide to borrow loan. and you can get up to 65 or even 70% of that loan. Okay, so having said that, I've come to the end of my session, and before we have a Q&A, right? Okay, please keep your questions coming. Please keep your questions coming in the comment section, right? But I want to mention two things. Number one is that when you are borrowing, to avoid liquidations when you are borrowing, ensure that you can pay back the amount that you are borrowing. And number two is that if you don't pay back let's say you are doing a short term loan and you don't pay back at the exact time, they might liquidate you, right? Pay back your loan and even charge you 2% fee for not paying back. So you need to watch the time that you are paying. Okay. So thank you very much for listening. I will hand over to my co-host, Kazim Saidu. And please keep your questions coming. We'll cover it shortly. So, Kazim, please go ahead.
All right, thank you very much, Kenny. Thank you. That's a very, very educative session, and I believe everyone have actually learned 18 or two, and it's really, really great to be here once again. And just like once again, just to reiterate that whatever we say here should never be taken as a financial advice, but for educational purpose and for you to just to guide you
Yes.
on how to take your decisions, on how to take your position in the market. So it's very, very awesome. Please, I actually wanted to say as well that they should just keep the questions coming in so that after the whole session, we take all the we have a lot of questions here for you in particular. So hopefully after my session, then we'll take the questions one after the other. So thank you very much. My name is Kazim. So
Sure.
once
Sure.
again, it's good to be
You're
here
welcome.
today. And like I always say, there is no DeFi Mondays without a DeFi update. So I'll definitely want to give you some few updates and also to share with you some red alarm that is in the market, courtesy of a DRP on BNB chain. And firstly, let me just go to please. I think my screen is not coming up. I need to share the screen with you to show you a few things. Okay, while I wait for my screen to come up, it's better. Okay, let's just go into the market update. Uh, Once okay, now for the decentralized exchange trading volume in the last 24 hours. In the last 24 hours, the one leading the pack is Uniswap version 3. Uniswap version 3 has done over 1 billion US dollars in the last 24 hours. And that's about 97.24 percentage increase to their last 24 hours of trading volume. And they have about 0.0014 percentage market share. That's a very huge one from Uniswap version 3. And we have DYDX following them closely with a 923 million US dollar in trading volume in the last 24 hours, while a kind protocol is number three with 244 million US dollars trading volume in the last 24 hours with about 0.0003% market share. Pancake Swap version 2 is in the fourth position with 192 million US dollars in trading volume in the last 24 hours, and they have about 4,142 markets available for users. Uniswap is in number 5, while Apollo X, decentralized exchange, is in number 6 with about 97 million US dollars. Uniswap version 2 is still also in number 7, while Corp Finance is in number 8 with 52.7 million US dollar trading volume in the last 24 hours. FST Swap is in number 9, and Dodo on Ethereum is in number 10 with 43 million US dollars. You can get this information as well on coinmarketcap.com. When you have all this information, it helps you to know the direction of the market, what's happening in the market, what our other users are trading. Now, having checked the decentralized exchanges by volume, we should also look into the decentralized finance tokens that are leading by market capitalization currently. The total market capitalization, according to CoinMarketCap, presently for all DeFi tokens is about 64 billion 571 million 272,652 billion US dollars for the old market cap of all DeFi tokens. And the old DeFi market is led by Avax. Currently, and I think that's the same thing with in the last week that will Avalanche was also leading last week. The current price around 28.93 US dollars. Their current market cap is about 8.2 billion US dollar with a circulating supply of about 284.4 million AVAX. DAI, which is a stable coin, is also it's following AVAX closely with about 1.3 billion US dollar in trading volume in the last 24 hours, and with market cap of about 7.4 billion US dollar. Uniswap is following closely. Uniswap is number 16 on the global cryptocurrency market ranking, with a current market cap of about 6.5 billion US dollars. We have wrapped Bitcoin in number 4. We have Chainlink following it closely, and Tezos. We have Avi as well. And also, just like I said, you can get this information on CoinMarketCap and the DeFi category. It's good for you to do your research with all these things. Check CoinMarketCap.com daily to check your favorite projects, and also to see what the market is looking like for all these tokens. Now, having talked about the tokens and the decentralized exchanges, we should also look into some news that have filtered in from the DeFi space. There is a news that just came up at a few days ago, from United States. About 6.8 billion US dollar in pension fund is to be invested into crypto lending market. We can see, just like what Kenny has taken us through, and some minutes ago, about lending, crypto lending. So about 6.8 billion pension fund is going to be invested into crypto lending market, and this is happening from there is a firm which is the Fairfax County Retirement Systems. They are a U.S. pension fund with assets totaling about 6.8 billion US dollar, and they've unveiled that they are looking to invest into crypto lending markets in order to ramp up their returns. So definitely more establishment, more crypto firms are looking towards crypto lending, especially the DeFi space. We believe that this is a very good one for the crypto space, and let's just hope that more people get to understand better. Just like we are doing our best, we're trying to educate more people in order to participate in the crypto space. Now that's about that. I do have another update coming from Lido DAO, Lido, Decentralized Autonomous Organization. They've approved their revised token sale to Dragonfly Capital. It happens that Dragonfly will buy LDO tokens at about 1.45 US dollar or higher per token. They are going to be buying 1% of all the LDO token supply from the DAO treasury with a 1 year lockup period. If you are a fan of LDO, you probably want to follow this news and know how it's going to affect you as a holder in this ecosystem. Also, in the past week, we heard of the news of the SushiSwap head chef, a proposed candidate for the SushiSwap head chef, and the person of Jonathan Howard. There was a bit of a back and forth about his appointment, the proposed appointment, that they said he's going to pocket about a third of all tokens paid to staff on SushiSwap ecosystem. So a vote was proposed that the community should vote. It's either to accept or reject the proposed candidate, and including the proposed pay package that is supposed to receive. However, However, the chef now, according to the report on the 5th August, that he narrowly won the poll with about 53% of the community vote. This has passed, but some people are still saying they still want the proposal to still go into another stage. And one of the leading community member, he had a comment that sushi is not a community-run DAO anymore, because a lot of aggrieved community members are saying that this is not proper for someone, for only just a person to pocket about a third of all tokens that will be paid to staff. So it's something that is going on in the SushiSwap community. Now, I don't know if my screen is up now. All right. Okay. There is red alarm. I love to share this every week because for everyone, especially newbies who are just coming into the DeFi space, they want to take part. They want to make 100x. They want to make 10x, 50x. It is very important for you to check what is going on before you invest in a project. A project might be scam. They may be planning to rock pool. For you to protect yourself, you need to have information. You need to know what is happening and what is probably going to happen. That is why you have the DApp on BNB chain. So you just go to dappbay.bnbchain.org/red-alarm. So here you get to see projects that are suspicious, and these are the list of projects for the week that are suspicious. And if you invest your money, you might lose your funds and you might just lose everything that you put in it. So it's better for you to check the DApp to get updates on projects that are suspicious, that are found to be wanting, that probably they have something hidden in their contract. Sorry, hidden in their contract that may be of a potential scam. So these are the projects for the week. You have the WebDAO, you have the Drip, Arela Crypto, Algeria Finance. So visit theappbay.bmbchain.org/red-alarm for you to see list of projects that are potential scams. So having said that, so I want us to just go into the topic of the day, which I want us to look at. I will be going through a recap on DeFi use cases and that we have looked into in the past week. We've looked into asset management, we've looked into insurance, we've looked into liquidity provision, like you're providing liquidity. We've looked into that. There are a lot of use cases we've already looked into, but I want us to do a recap so that we can consolidate of whatever we are learning before this week. And just like we always say, you can also go back to check every of our live presentation to catch up on whatever we have discussed in the past. So some of the use cases that we have discussed in the past is like last week we discussed about asset management. We discussed about insurance. Also, there are also other use cases that you should know about, like using DeFi for KYT process. KYT is just like we have the KYC, know your customer. You have KYT, which is know your transaction process. The anti-money laundering and CFT parameters. All these things are also things that are coming into the DeFi space currently. The KYT, the know your transaction. What it does is it addresses like about two problems currently, and it addresses them at once. The first one is analyzing actual transaction activity and protecting customers' anonymity. So it makes KYT a prominent use case for decentralized finance. So a lot of things are happening in DeFi space. You also have the decentralized autonomous organization, which we discussed about 2 weeks ago, which Kenny also took 2 weeks ago. The decentralized autonomous organization DAOs, we talked about them about 2 weeks ago. You have in the DeFi space as well, some of the use cases as well, they have tools for analyzing and preventing risk. One of such tools is theappbay.bmbchain.org/red-alarm. So you have these things for you to check on what is happening, check projects. You also have the scanners that you can use to scan crypto contract address to spot potential scams in their contract address. You also have the synthetic resources and derivatives available on DeFi now. So these are some of the use cases available. We also have the architecture toolings, networking effect. You have the insurance, which we talked about last week, and the gaming and esports and margin trading. So these are the common use cases available in DeFi currently. Now, today, I want us to look into leverages in DeFi. But we're not going to just look into leverages in DeFi. We're going to talk about what is leverage. The leverages in crypto asset trading, leverages in DeFi, leverages in DeFi borrowing, leverages in margin trading, and also we'll just talk about the leverages in perpetual contracts. So I believe just like we talked about crypto lending a few minutes ago, many of us have also learned about what leverage is about. At least some of us might have traded with leverage, imagine on Binance itself, and also on decentralized exchange. So how does this work? What is leverage for the benefit of everyone? Leverage is just a strategy that relies on using borrowed money to increase the potential return of an investment. You have $10, you have 10 US dollars, but you want to increase your potential returns. You can then use leverage to increase your buying power. So you're able to multiply your buying power in the market. Instead of you buying directly with your $10, you could borrow like maybe you multiply like 3x of your potential funds to borrow like $30. Then you're able to buy more of an asset. So which also definitely increases your chance of having high return. But you must also know that it could also increase your chance of losing more money. So just like we have the pros, then you have the cons as well. You have the advantages and disadvantages. So that's basically what leverage is about. So leverage is definitely it's common in our everyday life. So when you are using a credit card to buy a TV, or when you are using mortgages to buy a house, you are borrowing money and using leverages. I believe you understand that. You have a credit card that you borrow funds on it to increase your buying power, to increase your purchasing power in the community. So you are indirectly or directly using leverages, and you're borrowing money to achieve those things. So now, what about now when we now talk about leverages in crypto asset trading? So The use of leverages is one of the most important and commonly applied features in crypto asset trading. So, not considering the dangers, a lot of crypto traders are willing to actually take these dangers and still take the risk to use leverage to increase their buying power and also increase their exposure to an asset, not minding the volatility of the crypto asset in the market. They don't mind that, but they believe they can still play the game well and increase their exposure and also increase their potential returns on an asset. So the leverage ratios in recent time has increased from mega 3x to 5x and even up to 100x on some exchanges. So the higher leverages means higher risk. So when you use higher leverages like 10x, 20x, 15x, 100x, you are increasing your risk as well. Also, you are increasing your potential returns. If you use a leverage to buy an asset, and the asset increase in price within a particular period, you have a higher potential returns. But if it dumps at that period, you probably have a higher potential loss. There is also some misconception which I'm going to treat as we go along the way. And that's basically how leverages work in crypto assets. What about leverages in DeFi? Because we're talking about DeFi today. How does it apply to DeFi when you're talking about leverages? So, a general idea of leverages is the same, both in traditional and crypto finance. So, the idea of leverage is the same thing in traditional finance. Either you're trading stock in traditional finance or you are in the crypto market. The idea of leverage is the same. So, the major difference, it lies in the action of borrowing, in the action of borrowing an asset is where the major difference lies. How how all these things are done is where the difference lies. So the only identity on the blockchain is just a string of alphabetical codes, alphanumeric codes. That's the only thing that all of us have as an identity on the blockchain. However, things are improving. We now having more and more ways to identify users on the blockchain. You have the NFTs, you have a lot of things happening on the blockchain currently. So it will be almost impossible to borrow upon credit since we don't have too much of information on the blockchain. So there is no way a lender will probably identify me. So that is where you now have the DeFi borrowing becoming fully collateralized. So DeFi borrowing is usually fully collateralized due to the limited identity of users, of borrowers that want to partake in this DeFi borrowing space. So it's always fully collateralized. So furthermore, other differences exist between different DeFi financial models. So there are different financial models, and we have different aspects of them that are different from one another. So how about leverages in DeFi borrowing? So DeFi borrowing basically and lending is one of the earliest and the biggest DeFi applications with giants already operating on the market like MakerDAO, Compound, Aave, and Venus. Aave has been doing a lot of things in lending and borrowing. Aave is really, really popular and well known in the aspect of borrowing and lending. So if you want to probably start your journey, well, you want to take less risk, you want to start on Binance. But if you are already an expert playing in the DeFi space, Aave is one of the biggest players in the borrowing and lending area. Now, let's just look at an example of these leverages in DeFi borrowing. So, for example, now you are holding about $10,000 in ETH, and you feel bullish. You feel okay. ETH is going to go high. Okay, let's say it's the ETH. ETH is trading around 500 US dollars, and you believe that okay, ETH is going to about 800 US dollars. You're feeling bullish, and you are holding about $10,000 in ETH. So what you can do is you can deposit that your ETH in a platform like Compound or Aave as collateral and borrow about 5,000 USDC, which is a stable coin. Then you trade for another 5,000 ETH. So I don't know if you're getting what is happening there. You have ETH, about 10,000 USDT, 10,000 US dollar in ETH. You deposit your ETH because you believe ETH is going to go high. You're not selling your ETH at that moment. That means you're locking it up. You're dropping it as a collateral, but you believe ETH price is going to go up. So because you believe it's going to go up, you drop it as a collateral to borrow a stable coin, an amount of stable coin. In this instance, now you're borrowing 5,000, let's say USDT or USDC on Ethereum. You borrow USDC, then you now use that USDC to buy another 5,000 ETH. So that means you now have an exposure of about 15,000 US dollar in ETH. the total ETH, total exposure you have now to ETH is about 15,000 US dollar, which is equivalent to about 1.5x leverage. I want to believe that is very clear. So, which means you are using about 1.5x leverage compared with your initial capital of 10,000 US dollars. Now, similarly, because now what I just discussed now is that you feel bullish, you borrowed. That means if ETH price goes up as planned, you can sell for profit and still go back, return the USDC, the 5,000 US. Let's say you sell the ETH and make a profit of about 1,000 USDC. You go back, return your 5,000 USDC, and then get back your 10,000 ETH. That means you've made age returns. So similarly, if you're bearish on an asset, and you can what you can do is you can choose to deposit stable coins. So you believe an asset is going to go down, it's going to dump. So what you can do is get stable coins, an amount of stable coins, deposit it, and borrow. Let's say you borrow ETH at that moment. So what you do now, if the ETH price drops, you can buy it back at a cheaper price on the market and repay your debt. So what happens? What do you do there? You borrow the ETH. Let's say you dump it at that moment that you borrowed it. Let's say ETH was trading at around 500 US dollars. Then you now borrow, like, let's say 10 ETH, then dump it to make 5,000 US dollars. Now, when the price drops, let's say to around 400 US dollars, you buy back the amount, you buy back the ETH. That means you get more ETH. What you now do is that since you buy it back, then you now return the amount of ETH you borrowed into the borrowing pool. So you return it, then also take back your stable coin. That means you make a profit. So that's simply how these leverages work in DeFi borrowing. So now, one thing you should know that in case, since you will be borrowing funds from a decentralized protocol, if the value of collateral decreases, or the value of what you borrow increases beyond a certain threshold, you might get liquidated. So, as an example, that let's say you feel bullish on an asset, that means you deposit the asset, borrow some stable coins to buy more of the asset. Then the asset dumps, and if it dumps to a particular threshold, that means you get liquidated, which means you could lose your collateral. So the risk, as you're thinking about the potential returns, as you're thinking about the profit you could make, because sometimes what we want to make is what usually drives us. Okay, if I do this, I could make 10,000 US dollars. But as you're thinking about that, you must also think about your potential loss. That would also guide you in to manage your risk. That will get to me. So that's about that and leverage in borrowed DeFi borrowing. So how about margin trading? How about leverages in margin trading? So margin trading, basically in definition, in simple term, is a method of trading assets using funds provided by other parties, similar to direct borrowing. So it provides traders with greater sums of capital, allowing them to leverage their positions. So what happens in margin trading is you're using funds provided by other people for an interest to pay back. So, however, now there is one important difference. When margin position is open, the trader's assets act as collateral for the borrowed funds. So while you open a margin position, your asset that you deposited that is in the margin wallet now acts as your collateral. So that's just the major difference between it and DeFi borrowing. So an example of a platform that does that is that's best known for that is the YDX. So they are best known for a decentralized margin trading platform and allows up to 5x leverages. So what happens there is that traders use their own funds as a guarantee, magnify their original principal by several multiples, and use this magnified funds to make larger investments. So it also does increase your exposure, increases your buying power, increases your trading power on the market. So it gives you more funds to trade because you're getting them from other parties. So if the market moves in an unfavorable direction now, as a trader, if it moves in an unfavorable direction and it goes against you, then you are bound to probably lose your asset, and you'll probably lose your deposited asset, which is acting as collateral. So what you do is to prevent this from happening now. So you have to just manage your risk, know what you're doing, be focused on the market, and be sure that you be sure of the direction you think the market is going towards. But there are a lot of misconceptions I mentioned earlier that people don't really understand, because you might think you're making profit, meanwhile you're actually making a loss. Let us take this as an example. Let us suppose you are longing, you're going long, you're buying more ETH at 3x in margin trading, but you feel reluctant to adjust the exposure from time to time because you feel okay, no, I don't really want to increase this exposure. I don't want to increase my leverage from time to time. So, and you are holding about $100 in USDC or USDT, which is stable coin, borrowing another 200 USDC. So and that means you're trading about $300 in ETH. So the leverage level now is 3x. You have 100 US dollar, but you're now able to borrow additional 200 US dollar. So if you divide your total borrowed fund, your total funds now that you have at your disposal, which is 300 US dollar, you divide it by your initial capital, which is 100 US dollar, you get 3. So 300 over 100 gives us 3. That means you are using 3x leverage. So if the price of ETH now rises by, like, let's say 20%, that means your profit, there is a formula for calculating that. So that means your profit now will be your total funds that you used in trading, which is 300 US dollar, plus that total fund multiplied by the percentage increase, which is 20%. Then you subtract the total funds. In this case now, we have 300 US dollars. So if I calculate it, then my profit at that moment will be around 60 US dollar, which means I'm safer from being liquidated, and the real leverage level now has now decreased to 2.25x. And how do you get that? So which means when you say you're using 3x or using 5x, the leverage is not constant. It's not staying at that point. If the market goes against you, your leverage is actually increasing in real time. But you might think that, okay, I'm still using 5x. Meanwhile, we are already on, let's say, 7, 8x. That is why your liquidation point will get closer, and your risk of getting liquidated gets increased. So when you're playing in leverage, know that your leverage is not constant. If the market goes in your direction, your leverage is actually decreasing. If it goes in an unfavorable direction, your leverage is increasing, and thereby increasing your risk of being liquidated. So the same way, if the price of ETS that you bought drops by 20%, that means you have a loss of minus $60 using the case that we're using, we're using 300 US dollar at 3x leverage. So now it means that you may assume that you are taking constant leverage, like I mentioned, but your leverage is always increasing or decreasing. So you must be very aware of that. So I said we're going to just talk a little bit about perpetual contracts. So what are perpetual contracts? Perpetual contracts are very similar to traditional futures contracts, because we have futures contracts in traditional finance as well. So these perpetual contracts are actually very similar to what is obtainable in traditional futures contracts, but there is no expiry. So perpetual contracts mimic a margin-based spot market, and what it does, it trades close to the underlying reference index price. So this might be somehow a bit complex because it's not something a newbie will want to go through or you want to jump into without doing your due diligence or being an expert at this, or understanding fully how it works. So there are a number of DeFi projects in providing perpetual contracts for traders. So like DYDX that we mentioned, you have the MCDEX, perpetual protocol, Injective, and so on. So many traders now, when they find it hard to tell the difference between trading on margin and perpetual contracts, because both involve users getting leverage. Leverage is the word there, because on both trading, if you're trading on margin contract or perpetual contract, you are still leveraged. But there are differences in the leveraging mechanisms, fees and leverage level. So these are some differences that is obtainable, but we're going to talk about them sooner or later. So key point is that perpetuals are a type of derivative product trading synthetic assets that are margined. So the tracking of the underlying asset price happens in a synthetic way without the need to trade the real underliers. But margin trading involves real borrowing and transaction of the actual crypto assets. So there is a lot to talk about, but definitely we are running against time. So I want us to take a few questions before we close the day. So we'll continue from there next week, so I don't take too much of our time. All right, so let's just take a few questions, Kenny. So I don't want to take all our time. let's take few questions before we call it a day. All right, Kenny, are you there? So I noticed the time is really really fast spent, and
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Thank you, Kazim. Yeah. That was
can we
that
can,
was an awesome presentation. Y-
all right, thank you very much. Can we still take few questions, just maybe 5 minutes extra before we close it?
yes. Let's take
All right,
few questions.
all
Let's
right.
take few questions.
Sure, sure. Okay, so let me just, there's a
So
question
somebody
here.
said, let me go
Okay,
ahead.
so I have
Somebody
there is a,
said,
all right. Please go ahead.
okay. So somebody said you need KYC to borrow in centralized exchange, but you don't need KYC before acquiring crypto loan in a decentralized exchange. That is very correct. Okay. Somebody said that's Samuel Alagbe. He said, I think crypto loans should be given out mostly in stable coins to ensure no loss to the borrower in case of dip. Don't you think? If you're a newbie, yeah, you can take crypto loans in stable coin. But when you're taking a loan, don't think that you can't incur a loss. Yeah, this market, nothing is certain, right? But assuming the loan that you took is in two ways. You can take a stable coin. You can take a stable coin now as a loan, and your crypto asset increases in value. And you're like, oh, thank God I did not sell my crypto asset. Now my crypto assets are
Yeah,
appreciated in value. So let me just pay the stable coin, right? And you can also take a stable coin loan, and your collateral keep reducing in value, and you got liquidated and you lost all your stable coins. So for example, assuming you took that kind of loan and you have spent all the stable coin, now you're at a loss because your collateral has been liquidated. And if you take the loan, if you take the stable coin and you can't pay back, now you're at a loss. But if you take the stable coin and you can pay back, right? That is awesome. So there anything in lending in crypto, there's risk there. That's what I want you to
very,
understand.
very,
There's
very,
always a
very
risk.
well. Very well, very well. So someone was asking here that do you know about how to identify scam coins? Maybe a site that offers a quick background scan on the contract address of those coins. Well, when you talk about scams, just like I said, this crypto space, you just have to keep finding information. But one of such that I can direct you to is on bnbchain.org, on DAppBay, that I just showed us earlier. There is a risk scanner there where you can enter a contract address of any project, enter the contract, and then it gives you back information, from information. Meanwhile, the information are not definite decision that okay, this is what you should do, but for you to just go through, take your decision, and know better about the project. You can, and there are also tons of tools out there for you to check project, check about them before you invest your hard and money. All right, Kenny, you got like one more question before we round up.
Yes, I'm here. I'm with you.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
think you got you.
I'm with you. Somebody said don't borrow money to invest. Okay, I'm coming, please. So Unwachuku said don't borrow to invest because you fit go to trenches. So that is very correct. As a matter of
Yeah,
fact, I
yeah,
don't advise newbies to be borrowing. And
yeah,
most people don't know how to borrow. That's just the thing. Most people feel borrowing is something that you should be doing every time. No,
yeah.
you
No,
can
no.
borrow, but you need to be strategic about it. Oh, you need to wait and be patient for the time to borrow.
Yes, yes,
So
yes,
the mistake that I make personally is that when I borrow, now I'm in profit. But instead of me to stop, I would think, oh, that's how the market is going to continue. And I will just keep borrowing, keep borrowing, keep borrowing until one final moment the market goes against and I've lost a huge amount of capital. So it's not bad to
yeah,
borrow, but to me, I see borrowing for crypto as also borrowing for business. You don't go and borrow for every single business that you want to start. There's some
Okay.
business that you're going to start is not going to work well. So imagine you have borrowed huge amount of capital and you need to pay for it, right? So
Yeah.
when it comes to business, you borrow rarely. You borrow when maybe you want to scale your business. You already have customers. You're having large amount of orders, and you just need money to scale up and fulfill customers' orders, not just
Yeah.
every time you are borrowing. So
All
that's what
right.
I
All
would
right.
like to
All
contribute.
right. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. And please, just like Kenny said at the start, please share this link with your friends in your groups, anywhere you are, for people that are not here to come and watch the replay and also previous session that we've had. Share them. It's going to be educative and it's really, really enough for us. Just one more time. Some people are still asking about the scanner for the project scanner. Like I mentioned, this is DAppBay, DAppBay.bmbchain.org red dash alarm, or just go to that dapp.bmbchain.org. Then there is a risk scanner icon at the top of the page. Tap on it, then you get a box to enter the contract address. So just I believe, okay, we should just say, please join the Telegram communities of Binance Nigeria and Binance Ghana to get more updates. And also remember to fill the giveaway form. We're sorry if you have not received your giveaway bonus. If you're selected, or if you won and you've not received, please just be patient. Everything will be sorted out as soon as possible. Thank you very much. My name is Kazim Seidu, and see you same time next week. Kenny, please.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So yeah, thank you everyone. It's been a wonderful 1 hour 6 minutes of learning, and I look forward to seeing all of you in our next episode. So please
Yeah,
leave any topic that you want us to cover below this video. Leave it as comment, and also don't
yeah,
forget to
that's
fill
good.
the form. So thank you
Yeah,
very
that's good.
much.
Thank you very
God
much.
bless.
Yeah,
Bye.
enjoy the rest of your week. Bye bye.